Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever walked into a nursery, seen a plant you loved, and then maybe bought one that turned out to be its frustratingly similar cousin.
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time. That initial visual can be deceiving.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're digging into today. Our sources for this deep dive are really interesting. They're from a gardener's personal notebook. It details that exact moment of realization.
The aha, or maybe the uh-oh moment.
Precisely. They thought they'd found the perfect plant, something structural for the garden, but well, they soon figured out they were mixing up two different mallows.
Two species that look quite alike at first glance, but do very different things in the garden.
Right. So our mission today isn't just about these specific plants, these Indian mallows. It's more about giving you a quick way to understand the trade-off they represent.
That choice between, say, pure aesthetic appeal and, well, practical usefulness.
Exactly. We're pulling out the key details so you can spot the difference between, let's call it, structure and charm.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
Well, the confusion makes perfect sense. The genus Abutilon is wonderfully diverse. It's part of the Malvaceae family, the mallow family.
Which includes things like hibiscus and cotton, right?
Exactly. So they share that sort of general mallow look, but the way they grow, it can be wildly different. And what's really interesting here is that the gardener, according to the notes, was first just going off memory.
Ah.
Yeah, they'd seen an Abutilon before, probably, trailing beautifully over a wall somewhere. Then they spot another one recently that looks visually almost identical. Same flower shape, similar leaves.
But it wasn't the same plant, and the names tell the story once you know them.
That's right. The original plant, the one they remembered trailing, that turns out to be Abutilon Megapotamicum.
Megapotamicum, got it.
And the plant that sparked this whole investigation, the one they were thinking of buying for its structure, that was Abutilon Pictum.
Okay, Pictum. So the source materials give us common names, too. Megapotamicum is the trailing Abutilon.
Makes sense.
And Pictum is the red vein Indian Mallow. Doesn't that difference in common names kind of highlight the whole issue right there?
It really does. It's a perfect example of how common names can sometimes, well, lead you down the wrong path if you're not careful.
How so?
Well, trailing Abutilon, that name focuses entirely on the form, right? Its habit, how it moves.
Okay, yeah.
But red vein Indian Mallow, that focuses purely on one aesthetic detail. The look of the flower, the veining.
Ah, I see. So you could spot that red-veined one and just assume it trails like the other one you saw.
Precisely. Totally missing that its genetic instructions are telling it to grow upright, like a shrub or even a small tree.
That really is the core of the confusion then. Two related species, but totally different garden role.
Mm-hmm. Knowing Megapotamicum from Pictum really is the difference between getting that charming cascade versus a structured shrub.
Okay, so this brings us to the gardener's own analysis in their notes. Once they figured out these were two different plants, they had to weigh things up.
Right, the practical versus the pretty, essentially.
Let's start with the practical one. That was the Abutilon Pictum, the red vein.
Yes. The notes are quite clear. The gardener ultimately leaned towards a Pictum. But interestingly, not really because of the red veins.
Oh, so not for the aesthetic detail in its name.
No, it was all about utility,
Yeah.
its function. See, a Pictum can grow into a really sturdy, upright shrub. And, if conditions are right, it can even get to the size of a small tree.
Okay, that is a big difference compared to something that trails.
It's a total game changer if you're planning a permanent garden spot and need some height or structure.
So if you need a plant to stand tall, be a backdrop, give some backbone to a planting, a Pictum is functionally the winner.
That's what the source notes suggest. That upright habit is what makes it the more practical choice for an outdoor garden. It fills that structural need.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, the notes show a real tension. They acknowledge this practical benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But the gardener actually admits they like the look of the other one better. Like they consciously sacrificed some beauty for function.
That's exactly right. Despite Pictum being more practical, the gardener was, aesthetically speaking, more drawn to Abutilon Megapotamicum, the trailing Abutilon.
Trailers always get ya.
They do. And the gardener gives specific reasons why. It's not just a vague preference. It's about actual visual details.
Mm-hmm.
First, they mention those charming, small, lantern-shaped flowers. They hang down a bit.
Like little lanterns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gives them a kind of delicate, whimsical feel that the more upright flowers on Pictum maybe don't quite have.
Okay, so flower shape is one thing. What else?
Then there's the color. The notes say Megapotamicum has brighter coloration.
Breeder. What does that mean compared to the red vein one?
Well, think about it. Pictum has those strong red veins over paler background, right? He gives a kind of patterned, maybe slightly muted look overall.
Okay.
Megapotamicum, on the other hand, often has cleaner, more saturated colors. Yellows,
Uh,
orange reds. It's maybe less complex, but visually punchier, brighter in that sense.
got it. So cleaner, more intense color. And the flower shape.
And, of course, the way it grows, that natural tendency to cascade and trail, it just sounds more, I don't know, romantic than a structured shrub.
It definitely does. So the gardener sees the visual appeal. Lantern flowers, bright color, trailing habit.
But it doesn't fit the practical need as well. And that's the trade-off, isn't it? The analysis really forces that choice.
It does. Pictum is the reliable one, stands tall, gives structure.
The utility player.
Right. And Megapotamicum is the aesthetic delight. It trails, it has that charm, that color pop.
But wait, couldn't the gardener just, make the trailing one work, put it on a trellis or something? If they like the look so much better.
That's a really good question. Did the notes touch on why that wasn't the preferred option?
It seems implied it was about limitations, maybe space, and wanting something more permanent and freestanding in the ground.
Ah, okay.
Megapotamicum, because it trails, often needs support, like a container or a trellis.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the climate, it might be treated more like an annual or need overwintering.
Right, so potentially more work, more fuss.
Exactly. The goal seemed to be a durable, perennial, freestanding structure planted right in the garden bed. So while you could support the trailer,
It adds complexity.
right, and it might not give you that same visual effect as a solid, upright shrub, the basic difference holds.
Mm-hmm.
One's built for structure, the other for charm. And when you have constraints, you often pick the one that does the main job best.
That sums up the dilemma perfectly. The gardener had to ask, what's the fundamental job this plant needs to do here? If the answer is fill this space vertically, then the structure of A. pictum kind of has to win out, even if A. megapotamicum is subjectively prettier.
And if you step back, this specific gardening choice, it really mirrors decisions we make all the time, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, choosing anything, really. A tool, software, maybe even a car. You often have two options, right? One is robust, super functional, reliable, maybe a bit basic looking.
Workhorse?
Exactly. Versus the other option. Sleek, user-friendly, delightful to interact with, but maybe it doesn't have the long-term durability or all the features you technically need.
Function versus form. Utility versus appeal.
It's that classic balance. And the notes show the gardener is still kind of grappling with it.
Yeah,
They've identified the plants, understood their strengths.
but haven't planted yet.
Seems not. The notes end with something like, they need to see how this will unfold in coming future. The research is done, but the final choice, the action, is still pending.
And that is really the key takeaway for you listening. Whether you're planning a project or choosing software or, yes, picking a plant for your garden. The absolutely crucial first step is defining the exact identity of your options, getting it right.
Absolutely, because if you mix them up,
If you plant the trailing Abutilon, the Megapotamicum, where you really needed the structure of the upright pictum, well, you haven't solved your core problem.
you've planted charm where you needed architecture.
Exactly. Precision in identifying what you're dealing with that ensures the end result actually matches what you intended to achieve. Function first, or maybe form first, but know which is which.
It's vital. Recognizing that you might have two closely related options, but with very different non-overlapping strength, structure versus charm. In this case, that has to happen before you commit your time or money. And it leaves us with a really interesting question to think about, building on this gardener's dilemma.
Good.
When you're faced with your next big decision, and you have one option that's clearly superior in function, in utility, and another that just appeals to you more, it has that subjective charm. Which way do you lean? Which trait do you ultimately prioritize? Is it the utility player or the aesthetic delight?
That is a tough one. Unnecessary question, though. Well, now you know the difference between a red vein Indian Mallow and a trailing Abutilon, at least structurally. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep those critical eyes open when you're exploring your own sources.